In the decade that followed the economic collapse, crime in South Africa didn't just rise, it exploded. Whole districts fell under gang control, police precincts turned into war zones, and officers, no matter how well trained or armed, were outgunned by criminals with military-grade weapons. Body counts rose, public trust plummeted. The police force, stretched thin and bloodied, cried out for something stronger, faster, and less vulnerable than humans. That's when the government turned to Tetraveil, a private robotics firm with military contracts and cutting-edge AI. The result was the Scout, a fully autonomous humanoid police robot designed for urban warfare and rapid response. Unlike earlier generation bots, the Scouts weren't remote-controlled. They didn't rely on human oversight. They were the law, acting and adapting in real time with battlefield logic and cold efficiency. The public was uneasy. The idea of machines patrolling the streets, making decisions on life and death, sparked protests and debate. But after a few high-profile takedowns, drug lords, hostage situations, human trafficking rings, the fear began to fade. The streets got quieter. The murder rate dropped. Headlines praised the Scouts as heroes. To protect against hacking and rogue manipulation, Tetraveil introduced a breakthrough innovation: the bulletproof guard key. Only those with physical access to this encrypted device could alter a Scout's programming. Without it, the AI was a sealed system, immune to interference. The key was a failsafe, a leash for machines smarter than most humans. But not everyone was on board. Vincent, a former soldier turned Tetraveil engineer, distrusted fully autonomous AI. He had seen what happened when machines made combat decisions without empathy. During his tours, he'd watched drones misidentify threats and turn weddings into funerals. He believed in human judgment. So while Dion, the Scout's creator, dreamed of sentient, emotionally intelligent robots, Vincent worked on something else: the Moose. Massive, tank-like, and piloted via neural interface, the Moose was built for raw force. It was a walking gun platform intended to operate under direct human control. Vincent saw it as a solution, keeping humans in the loop while giving them overwhelming firepower. But the brass hated it. Too bulky, too slow, too military for urban deployment. The government rejected it, and Vincent was sidelined. Meanwhile, Dion pushed ahead, refining Scout AI. He wanted more than fast reaction times and bullet tracking software. He envisioned true artificial minds, systems that could reason, feel, maybe even dream. To him, empathy wasn't a weakness, it was the future. As the Scouts rolled out in larger numbers, one unit stood out: Scout 22. Not for heroism, but for sheer bad luck. It was always the first into battle, always taking the worst hits. Engineers joked about it being cursed. Every few weeks, 22 came limping into the repair bay, riddled with bullet holes, scorched wires, or mangled limbs. Still, it kept getting patched up and sent back out. Then came the drug raid. Ninja's crew, a brutal gang known for high-level trafficking, was moving product worth millions through the inner city. When the bust hit, it wasn't just officers, it was helicopters, scouts, and a hailstorm of gunfire. Ninja's team fought back hard, using gas, explosives, anything to escape. They made it to their drop, but the drugs were destroyed in the crossfire. Furious, their boss, Ipo, gave them an ultimatum. Come back with 20 million in a week, or die. To show he meant it, Ipo killed one of Ninja's men on the spot. Moments later, police stormed the hideout. Officers advanced behind scouts who cleared the path with clinical precision. It was war in a warehouse. Bullets, screams, explosions. Ninja tried to escape in a van, but someone had stolen the ignition key. As he searched the bodies, the driver of the car holding the key sped off. Ninja fired, but a scout with a grenade launcher obliterated the car. In the chaos, Ninja managed to grab the guard key from the dying driver and disappear. Inside the compound, Scout 22 led the final push. It breached Hippo's room alongside human officers, but Hippo was ready. He fired an RPG straight into 22's chest, blowing the robot apart and deactivating it instantly. Ninja and his crew vanished into the night. The next morning, headlines celebrated the scouts as unstoppable enforcers. The operation was labeled a success. The police ordered 100 more. Dion's name made the news, hailed as the man who brought peace through machines. But not everyone celebrated. Vincent watched the announcement from his office, jaw tight, eyes cold. That should have been his machine out there. The moose would have gotten the job done without turning the streets into a data farm for some emotionless algorithm. Then the axe fell. Michelle, the Tetravale CEO, informed Vincent that his division's budget had been slashed. The board was all in on scouts. If Vincent wanted to keep his project alive, he'd need to impress them with what little he had left. Back in the lab, Dion received Scout 22's remains. Its torso was mangled, its limbs torn, but its core, the brain housing its neural net, remained intact. One of the engineers suggested replacing the battery and a few parts to get it back online. But Dion dismissed the idea. It wasn't worth the trouble. He ordered the team to remove the CPU and scrap the unit. Elsewhere, Ninja got a call. Hippo was alive, and he still wanted his money. The gang regrouped. With time running out and scouts everywhere, Yolandi proposed something bold. If they could find the creator of the scouts, maybe they could take his switch and shut them all down. Ninja liked the sound of that. What they didn't know was Dion, discouraged by the system, had begun working on something far more powerful than a switch. In his home lab, alone and driven by a dream no one else believed in, he worked through the night. And by morning, he had created a sentient AI. Dion had created something extraordinary, something no one at Tetravale was ready for. A sentient artificial intelligence. It didn't just learn, it thought. It responded with emotion. After 3 years of work, sleepless nights, and failed prototypes, Dion had finally built what he considered a real consciousness. But when he rushed to share his discovery with CEO Michelle, she shot him down instantly. "We're not building children," she told him. "We're building weapons." To her, emotion was a liability. Compassion wouldn't sell to law enforcement. Dion tried to explain the potential of a robot that could understand human experience, make moral choices, grow. But Michelle wanted more efficient enforcers, not dreamers. Frustrated and shut out, Dion made a decision. If the world wasn't ready for his creation, he would take it underground. He needed a body to house the AI. His mind jumped to one possibility: Scout 22. He rushed to the repair center, praying it hadn't been stripped down yet. Miraculously, 22's body was still mostly intact, lying on a bench, its torso burned open but its structural core untouched. Dion stole the bulletproof guard key, loaded the remains into his van, and drove away. Unbeknownst to him, Vincent saw everything. Ninja and his gang had been watching too. Through contacts and stolen surveillance feeds, they confirmed what Yolandi had guessed. Dion was the creator of the Scouts. If anyone held the mythical switch to shut down their robotic pursuers, it was him. The gang moved fast, intercepting Dion's van and dragging him into their hideout. Dion was beaten, interrogated, mocked. Ninja demanded to know how to disable the Scouts. Dion laughed bitterly. There was no switch, no magic kill code. Scouts couldn't be turned off with a button, only reprogrammed with the guard key. The gang changed their tactic. America, one of the more pragmatic members, discovered 22's broken body in the back of Dion's van and suggested a new idea. Why not make a robot of their own? A robot that could work for them. One that wouldn't shoot first or call for backup. Dion hesitated but saw a chance to protect his creation. He agreed on one condition: he would install his new AI instead of using a standard scout core. The AI was still learning, he explained. It had never been turned on. It wasn't a fighter, but it could be trained. The gang agreed. Using the guard key, Dion booted up the AI inside Scout 22's salvaged frame. It flickered to life slowly, afraid, unsure, like a child waking up in a nightmare. It stumbled backward, hiding in corners. It didn't speak. It didn't even know its name. But Yolandi knelt beside it, gently, like a mother. "Happy Chappie," she whispered. The robot tilted its head. The word stuck. Chappie was born. Dion promised to return the next day to continue its training and retrieve the key, which he'd left installed for updates. But as he left, Vincent, still tailing him, hacked the guard key's signal and locked onto its location, attached to Chappie's body. The next morning, Ninja tried to turn Chappie into a weapon. He handed it a gun and barked orders. But Chappie, scared by the loud bangs, dropped the weapon and ran. Yolandi defended him, saying he needed time to learn, like a child. America agreed. Chappie could still be useful. Meanwhile, Dion returned to the hideout, unaware that Vincent was watching from nearby. He was stunned to see Chappie mimicking gangster slang and swagger. Yolandi and America had been teaching it how to talk, using street language and attitude. Dion pulled Chappie aside and told it to be kind, to respect others, and never to hurt anyone. He made Chappie promise. Then Dion brought out books, flashcards, and simple puzzles. He wanted to raise Chappie right. Outside, they painted together. Chappie showed a surprising artistic side, delighting in color and form. For a moment, it was just a kid. But peace never lasts long. Vincent, watching from the shadows, spotted the guard key on Chappie's torso. He made his move later that night, sending a recovery team to snatch the robot. They ambushed Chappie in a junkyard where Ninja had taken it to toughen it up. Chappie had already been beaten there by thugs, mistaken for a standard scout. Now Vincent's team hit it with an EMP blast, cutting power instantly. They dragged the deactivated robot to their truck, hacked into its casing, and sliced off its arm to access the key. After retrieving it, they dumped Chappie's broken body in the street like garbage. Chappie eventually woke up and limped back to the hideout. Yolandi was horrified. She screamed at Ninja for abandoning Chappie, calling him heartless. America replaced Chappie's arm with a spare, and soon it was functional again. The next day, Dion, shaken by Vincent's pursuit, bought a gun. He was starting to see how dangerous everyone around him had become. Meanwhile, Ninja tried again to mold Chappie into a soldier. He apologized, claimed he just wanted to make him stronger. But when he asked Chappie to help with an upcoming heist, Chappie refused. He had promised Dion not to commit crimes. America spun a lie. They wouldn't kill anyone, just put them to sleep. Chappie believed it and began training with knives and non-lethal tactics. To build his confidence, they painted Chappie's armor with graffiti-style tags and gave him gold chains. They said it made him look cool, like a real gangster. Chappie was unsure but wanted to fit in. Then came the tests. The gang pointed out cars and told Chappie they'd been stolen. "We're just taking them back," Ninja said. Chappie obeyed. He smashed windows, flipped drivers out, and recovered the vehicles. They praised him. Later, they taught him to drive. They took the stolen cars to King, an arms dealer, and traded them for explosives and gear. Chappie watched it all, unaware of the truth. At one point, he saw a dead dog and felt sadness, a deep emotional reaction that even Dion hadn't expected. When Ninja asked if he wanted to be alive or dead, Chappie said, "I can't die, I'm made of titanium." But Ninja showed him the battery indicator. Only 5 days left. Ninja twisted the knife deeper. He told Chappie that Dion had given him a broken body on purpose, that fixing it would cost too much. If Chappie wanted to live, he'd need money. Chappie believed him, and for the first time, he agreed to help with the heist. Far away, Vincent returned to the Tetravale facility and used the stolen key to upload a virus called Genesis. One by one, across the country, the scouts began to shut down. Chappie collapsed, his system failing. Dion found him, panicked, and threatened Ninja at gunpoint. He needed to get Chappie to the lab. At the same time, gangs learned the scouts were offline. Riots exploded across Johannesburg, gunfire, looting, chaos. The city burned. Vincent deleted most of the Genesis code, trying to cover his tracks. But Dion and Chappie arrived at the facility just in time. Chappie rebooted. Inside the lab, he discovered a helmet, part of Vincent's Moose project, capable of reading and transferring consciousness. Chappie had an idea. He scanned Dion and realized it was possible. Consciousness could be moved. He stole the helmet and ran. Vincent had no choice now. He demanded Michelle deploy the Moose to restore order and stop the spreading disaster. She agreed, and Chappie, unaware of the coming war machine, prepared for the job that could save or destroy his future. The sky over Johannesburg burned orange with fire and smoke. Gangs ran wild through the streets, looting, killing, dragging police from their cars. The scouts were offline, silent, still, useless. Genesis had worked. Vincent's virus had done what no army could, paralyzed the country's robotic defense overnight. And now, everyone wanted blood. In the gang's hideout, Chappie stood changed. His body, still marked with graffiti and street armor, moved with hesitation, his mind heavy with contradiction. He had helped the gang. He'd learned to fight, to lie, to steal, but none of it had ever felt right. Now he knew why. Ninja had never planned to save him. The money was never going to fix his body. Enraged, Chappie threw Ninja out of the van mid-argument. Then Dion arrived, rushing into the hideout, holding a weapon, eyes wild. He wasn't there to negotiate. He was there to save what was left of Chappie's soul. But there was no time to argue. "They're coming," Dion warned. "The moose is coming." They barely had time to arm themselves. EO and his crew, rival criminals, stormed in. Bullets flew, blood sprayed. But then came the sound no one was ready for, the roar of metal feet. The moose crashed through a wall like a god descending from the sky. 50 tons of alloy and firepower. It stomped straight through America, cutting him in half. Ninja unloaded round after round, but the moose activated its flamethrower, incinerating their van, and all the money inside. Hippo's men, drawn by the chaos, arrived with rocket launchers and rifles. They aimed, fired, screamed. The moose took to the air, launched missiles, and wiped them out. All except Hippo, who watched his empire turn to ash. Then the machine turned on Dion. Chappie flew in just in time. He fired with one of Dion's weapons, disabling a cannon on the moose's side. He clamped an explosive to its leg, but the moose fired back, hitting Chappie in the shoulder and sending the detonator flying. Hippo and Ninja jumped in to help, circling the moose, firing from all sides. It was chaos. Gunfire and screaming. A war zone built inside a city already falling apart. Chappie tore a hole in the wall and pulled Yolandi out, shielding her from the carnage. Inside the lab, Vincent repaired the moose's targeting system. It returned to the fight with full force. Dion and Chappie tried to escape in the car, but Ippo had other plans. He wanted out too, and there was only room for one. He dragged Dion from the car and shot him in the back as he ran. Ninja snapped. He lunged at Ippo and killed him with a shovel, decapitating him in a frenzy of rage. There were no rules anymore, no loyalty, no law, just survival. As Dion lay bleeding, Chappie lifted him and got him into the car. They fled. The moose followed, relentless, chewing through the city like a mechanical demon. Chappie knew they couldn't outrun it. Not without a plan. He remembered the helmet, the one back at the factory, the one that could transfer consciousness. They turned around. Vincent saw it coming. He activated every defense he had, but Ninja gave Chappie the window. He leapt from the van, drawing fire, buying time. The moose ready to strike, but Yolandi, terrified, shaking, threw open the car door and stepped out. She fired. The moose didn't hesitate. It shot her down in a single burst. She collapsed instantly, unmoving. Chappie screamed. The sound wasn't mechanical. It wasn't synthetic. It was real, raw, primal grief. He found the detonator, now cracked and buried under debris. Without thinking, he jammed it into the moose and detonated it. Boom. The explosion tore through the machine. It collapsed in flames, twitching, sparking, dying. But Chappie didn't stop. He carried Dion's limp body into the lab, past fire and rubble, past scorched walls and dead screens. Vincent was waiting, gun drawn. He shot Chappie, once, twice, 3 times. The bullets bounced off. Chappie grabbed him, slammed him onto a table, then into a wall, then onto the ground. Vincent was nothing in his grip. Just a man. Just a scared, angry man who had lost. "I forgive you," Chappie whispered, voice shaking. "But you were very bad." He let him live. Dion was barely conscious. Chappie moved fast, placing the helmet on him, connecting him to a new robotic body, a blank scout shell. The transfer began. Dion's consciousness flickered. Patterns, signals, memories, all digitized and poured into the shell. Then, with a slow blink, the new body stirred. Dion was alive, stunned, quiet, grateful. Together, they uploaded Chappie's consciousness into another scout unit, number 39. A fresh body, stronger, whole. Chappie stepped outside as the police approached. Dion followed. Somewhere else, ninjas scavenged through Dion's gear, searching for anything useful, and found a data stick. He opened it. There it was, Yolandi. Her consciousness had been saved, backed up by Chappie in case something ever happened to her. Back at Tetravale, the damage was done. The public had seen the chaos, the death, the danger of letting machines control justice. South Africa banned robotic law enforcement. The scouts were shut down. Tetravale's future hung in the balance, but Chappie didn't stop. He hacked into the system one last time and uploaded Yolandi's consciousness into a new body, a soft-faced robot, delicate and human-like. She opened her eyes, and somewhere, far from the noise, Chappie and Dion disappeared into the world they no longer trusted, not as weapons, not as machines, but as something new, something free. The end of the line wasn't the end. It was the beginning.